welcome back with another episode of Waking Up with Wisdom, a spiritual talk show where we discuss our unique journeys as it pertains to spiritual awakening, what it was like before, what happened, and what we are doing to help the collective now. My name is Jennifer. I'm known as the Empire Heyoke and creator of the New Earth Builders Academy. Today, I have special guest Michelle with Elixir Apothecary, and which is a crystal and botanical infused body and skincare line. She is also a master herbalist and an Ascension guide. I personally know her, and I think she is a beautiful soul, and I am super honored to be interviewing you today and hearing your story.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah.
So how are you doing today, Michelle?
I'm well. I'm doing well. It's one of those days where everything has gone. It's putting my spiritual practice into practice today, because nothing has gone this week where I want it to go. It's been, I want to work 2 hours here, I get 10 minutes. And it's like, but remember, what did you do this morning? Like, this is what I teach. It's like, how can I start to implement the actual practice throughout the day and remember what I was doing in my high spiritual time in the morning? So I'm learning to integrate what I teach.
That's so funny that you said that, because I was talking to a really good friend of mine today, and I sponsor her, I mentor her on the side, and we were discussing that I'm doing the same thing, like, in that in between, applying everything that we're learning to our lives. And it was the same conversation. I said, that's where the magic happens. It's the hardest for people to do, but yeah, I love hearing that, because it means that we're in alignment.
We are, integrate. And then we're full of integrity when we teach it as well. But it's also, if I'm going to expect to move to this next level in my ascension, then I'm going to have to implement and embody. So I'm in that process of moving forward with that. So, but I'm good. I'm good.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your story and how you started doing Elixir Apothecary.
Yeah. So Elixir Apothecary began under a different name in 2015. And it was literally just bath bombs and body scrubs, by request. If people wanted a coffee body scrub and all this stuff, it was very much basic formulations that I just made up. And then I got a certification, master herbalist certification in 2017, 2016, and then started taking it more seriously. I renamed the business, but it was still regular formulations, for headaches, for anxiety, for very, very physical formulations. And then after my spiritual awakening, I would say my first one was really, my second one was the most impactful. It was after my postpartum depression with my second son.
Is that what triggered your awakening?
And yeah, as an adult, I'll say, because I had a bit of an out of body experience when I was 11, but when I can say awakened after I had my second son, and it was, suicidal thoughts, everything that comes along with postpartum. I had it.
I suffered from it.
Yeah. And it's like a sabotage on enjoying your new motherhood. And it really, really got to me. And that led me to realizing, finding some inner resolve and realizing I'm not going to be doing things the way I've been doing them. And that took the formulations to a whole new level. When you have a spiritual awakening, every part of your life kind of gets impacted and spills over from that spiritual awakening. And then the formulations for Elixir, they couldn't be these basic formulations anymore. And I started diving into metaphysics and mysticism and Gnosticism and everything in between. And gave myself permission, because I was very much into the church crowd, but never fit in. I was just putting on a front. You know, totally had my mask on when I went. I was like, I don't want to be here. But, and it was giving myself permission to step out of that into what am I truly interested in? Like releasing the dogma of the, along with
Yes.
that, of something bad will happen if you, you know, go in, if you, you know, drop going to church and, you know, drop religion. And what I realized on the other side, I gave myself permission to cross that bridge and see what it was like on the other side. And I slowly unraveled my truth. So that's, I think, step one of ascension is just being really freaking brave to,
yes,
yeah, leave that comfortable yet uncomfortable space to start unraveling what resonates with your soul.
I think that's why people have to get to that rock bottom moment where it is just so uncomfortable and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you really don't have, like, there's two choices. It's either death or the other way, or like they say in recovery, it's death, institutions, or, you know, sobriety. And yeah,
one of the three. And it's,
I've had many options to get it that were presented to me and everything now that I can see throughout my life. But yeah,
it's interesting looking back, like when we have taken that radical responsibility and to really know I'm not going to sulk in this and everything just is not the way I want it to be. How can I take responsibility and change it? And for me at that point, it looked like leaving everything that was comfortable, everybody that had known me since I was young. And well, I'm still young, but younger, growing up, it was still like, I am not that person anymore. My frequency is completely different. I'm on this enlightenment path, and I don't know, like, if you can't accept me as this, it's because I'm showing my true self, and I've actually had a mask on the whole time. And that was, you know, explaining that to somebody who isn't in that frequency with you is very, you just have to leave it alone. So I left the church and just decided I'm not a religious person, I'm a spiritual person. And giving myself permission to just explore all of these different healing modalities, these different religions, these different spiritual thought systems and ancient wisdom, really diving into that. And all of that started helping me channel these new formulations. And so the formulas for Elixir are very metaphysical. They're not just to ease headaches. They're to help you activate your crown chakra, to, you know, lots of different multidimensional formulations. And anxiety, the peace elixir, for example, it helps activate one's intuition because all the essential oils correlate with the nervous system, and anxiety and intuition are both nervous system related. And usually when we're cutting off our intuition, which society is built around doing so for us, helping us do that, when we start activating our intuition, we usually, or ascending as well, we experience a lot of anxiety because we're releasing friendships, we're releasing comfortable parts of ourselves.
Shedding like everything. Well, since I got cracked open and really dove deep and took the, you know, like you said, taking that personal responsibility. That's what it is. It's taking personal responsibility. For 3 years, people that I used to talk to, I don't really conversate with anymore because I'm not on that vibration frequency. And lots have changed, and it's that mask that we've been wearing. It's not just one, it's like several, and depending on whatever situation. Me being a Pisces, I am one that I had to recognize about myself, which is a Pisces tendency that when I get around a certain people, I'm so fluent that I will start to kind of like their persona I'll match their persona, a mirror. That's why I'm the Empire
Yeah.
Heyoke. And
Yeah.
I was doing it unconsciously, where
Wow.
now I'm more recognized. And I'm like, because I'll start picking at, I noticed something like I have someone I live with whose knees are hurting,
Mhm.
and my knees have been hurting. And I kept thinking, why the hell is this? And then it was like, oh,
Oh.
I'm picking up her energy, and the energies I'm not shielding.
Yeah.
So,
And when you know that you are spiritually gifted, then those protection modalities come in,
it's
because
necessary.
yeah, because I've had a number of people in my life that have started to hear voices, and you tell anybody that, and they're going to put you in the loony bin or on pills.
It's the first thing they ask you at the psychiatrist,
Yeah.
and I've been there, and they've asked me, and I'm like, no, I don't hear voices,
Yeah.
like, even though I did.
Yeah. Because you know what they're going to do.
Yes. And then they ask you, well, what voice are you hearing? Like,
Yeah, exactly. And really, it's like
I
when
channel source,
yeah.
but just make it even more crazier. Like, do you really want to know?
Yeah, it's almost that is too funny. It's not being empowered in our spiritual gifts, and when we know, we don't have to listen to every voice that decides to come into our field. It's setting up those boundaries, or look, I just woke up, I don't want my like clairvoyance like 100% right now. I'm just trying to, set my intention for the day. Then we can start making empowered decisions and boundaries around our spiritual gifts. But if we don't know and they start to activate, then that's where things get interesting. And that's why I love what I'm doing and what I'm creating the program around Ascension guidance. It's what are these symptoms, and are you going crazy, or are you just ascending? So that's a really big thing that I personally gone through, having crazy dreams, hearing things, feeling things about somebody, seeing colors around someone and thinking, like, rubbing my eyes, like, am I like, what is going on with me?
Uh-huh.
And it's just spiritual gift activation. So that's one of the things I want to be teaching and helping people through. But it's amazing. It's quite a journey. But I'm Elixir is definitely, and I can officially say, an extension of my soul with the formulations and the awakening birth that 3 years ago now.
I love your line. I think it's
Thank
absolutely
you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Definitely anyone who's watching this, you can find all her links down below. Go check her out and follow her.
Thank you.
We did a podcast not that long ago on like the moon cycles, our bleed cycles, and the crone phase and stuff like that. So definitely go check that out as well.
Yeah, it's such a good one. We talked for a good 40 minutes on just inner winter and embracing like the self-love through that phase. It was amazing. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ascension it's a journey, I know. And the more we go throughout the days and the months pass, people are waking up on a very fast level compared to when 2012, before that, the waves of people that came through to wake up. And
yeah,
it's many people need to hear this. It's the whole point of this show, so people can understand that not just them, that you're not going crazy. It's part of the journey.
It is.
It's breaking through that cognitive dissonance. When I found out that that's what it was, that's when I started to lean the fuck in more.
Yeah.
And really just what inside of me is rejecting this information, and it all stems from a memory or a program.
Yeah, always. That's come like, what are the limitations? What beliefs are limiting your creations and your true self, and limiting what beliefs are keeping those masks on? Those were the first questions I had to ask. And the belief for me, going way back to when I was so in the church, and honestly, I can tell you, every time I showed up, I was faking it. Nothing about it was, I want to be here. This is my calling. They were trying to get me in the mission field. And I didn't want to do that. I want to be of service, but not like that. And it was just a constant faking it, but I didn't have any like backup friends or backup community. I didn't know they existed. And this is the power of community too. It's so important.
Yes.
Yeah. But the main question to ask is, if you're at the beginning of this, is what beliefs are making me feel like this mask is safe to wear? Because it might be, well, I'll be rejected. I'll lose everybody that I know. I'll lose anything that, what have you built around you that is comfortable, but not authentic and therefore uncomfortable. But the most authentic yet uncomfortable change is going to be on the other side of those like bricks that we've built ourselves, this castle of mask on mask on mask, when everything else out there is our true soul expression that we came here to embody. But we've decided, no, I'm going to put myself in here where it's safe, because I don't know what's out there.
I love how you put that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm really visual, so I have to.
Me too. No, me too. And that's why I'm like, oh, yes. I mean, you are explaining it beautifully.
Good. I'm glad it resonates. And it's just, that's how I felt. I felt like I built myself in my own little castle, and I was at the top in the tower looking down, kind of seeing, that actually resonates, but I'm too scared to start chipping away at these masks or bricks or whatever that are keeping me safe. And when we do that, it's bravery is number one, but asking ourselves, what beliefs are making me feel as if this mask is safe? And you're going to find at the end of when you answer that, that's going to be the first step to work on of, okay, well, if I lose everybody, let's say I lose my family, my friends, my community, I know that I'm in integrity with myself. So I still have me, the most important part of my life. And if we can, and you'll be surprised, it's like people will not leave as rampantly as one will imagine. It's definitely a shedding, like you said, and also they weren't meant for you anyways, because it was built on a false foundation anyways. So it's like I'm real with you, and we're real soul connections. Therefore, our friendship will probably last a long time, instead of if we'd put on this front to like be somehow more acceptable or more,
quality over quantity.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely feel like I've found my true community now that I've given that myself permission to shed those other friendships and skins and masks. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I completely agree with everything that you are saying. I felt like I put myself in this box, and throughout the journey, I found out, I was 37 when I had my awakening, and I didn't even know who I was. It was because from a very beginning, my abuser started programming me how to be a certain way with other people. So I was constantly looking for someone in my life to help me figure out what my next step was, or what I should be doing, or,
Yeah, not sourcing the answers within. Yeah.
So it was like last year, I can say I actually went through another whole dark night of the soul again. And up until like the beginning of this year, even to the storm in Texas, it was a self-realization of the codependency.
Yeah.
And codependency placing on others, like my relationships were leaving. So it's a push to stand on my own in all aspects, because the winter storm, you can't even be dependent on those who are controlling your electricity, your food, your water.
Yeah.
And people are going to get mad at them, but we put those people in power. So we're being codependent that they're going to solve our problems. So really working on finding out who it is that I am and me, like.
Yeah. The multi-layered codependency
Mhm.
of like it's gonna begin with the friends during the ascension process, the fake friendships, and then maybe the fake family members and the fake boyfriends or girlfriends, and then we might decide,
Weird.
yeah, yeah, the job might not resonate anymore, the career, like you said, and it's like, are we gonna answer that call, or are we just going like, I think whose is it that talks about, is it Joseph Campbell or Joseph, I think it's Joseph Campbell who talks about the hero's journey.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I have a chart that's really interesting that was done by the 5D Awakener map creator.
Uh-huh.
And it's talking about Joseph Campbell's hero's journey.
Uh-huh.
And it's so funny because you brought up the hero's journey on the podcast, and I'd heard about it. I remember it from studying it, but then I thought, let me look that up because that triggered something. And then this popped up. And so it goes through, the waking up process, but then refusal of the call, which I find is so interesting because a lot of us, when we've gone through this, okay, I'm getting to know who I am, I'm standing in my power, I've lost the friendships, I've gained more authentic ones. But so we get through that, but then we have major self-doubt that it'll actually work for us. That, and we'll never actually admit it, but that self-doubt is actually a refusal of your calling.
Mm-hmm.
And if I asked you or you asked me, well, you're refusing your call, don't you feel that that's what it is? No, I'm not refusing my call. I'm living it. And we would get defensive, but really the self-doubt is just self-sabotage of, I don't want.
That's why I say last year was the dark night of the soul, because I am a workaholic and I am a perfectionist, and it triggered me when I heard that perfectionism is a sign of procrastination.
Yeah, same thing.
I literally have built so much behind the scenes, and it's like 95% complete, but then I don't complete it because like, who am I? It's that imposter syndrome thing. So like, that's why I'm so big into having anybody who is ready to step into their calling go through building their business, because it will trigger everything that needs to come up. I have like,
that'll do it.
But that's, no,
that'll do it. It's like a relationship and building a business. That's a perfect concoction for a spiritual awakening. One of the two.
Yeah, it is.
It'll bring up all your shit.
It is, because we're all trying to like, okay, nothing resonates anymore. I know I'm here for a greater purpose, but what the fuck is it? And
I know.
How do I go about doing that? And then you try doing it, and it is, and I do not regret anything about it. It's just like I had a fear of writing, and now I'm writing. So I would have never done that if I didn't take this journey of stepping into my role, stepping into what I came here, what I was created to do is what we need to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's really tuning in with that soul agreement of what we decided to do before we came here, and then accepting that call and really trusting that it will work for us. And that's the biggest. Besides, I feel like there's several, I kind of see it like lumps in ascension, and the second lump to get over is the self-doubt. The first one is the bravery to leave the comfortableness, and then the second is, oh, will this work for me, or will it like completely flop and I'll have to go back and all that story that we tell ourselves. So there's a number of them, but that I feel is the second major one.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Walking in faith, and I have been shown many, many times by the divine and the universe that I am on the right path. And even in those moments of, the chaos of what's currently going on in the world, that I am constantly being watched over and guided and protected and taken care of.
Yeah.
I just need to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm exactly where I need to be at this exact time in this moment.
It's moment to moment. You're exactly. It's
It
not
is.
like one day at a time. I don't agree with that phrase. It's like moment to moment, second to second, like checking in. Do I feel safe right now? If I don't, maybe doing some nervous system work, like all of this stuff, and reconnecting to our truth. That needs to be the first thing in the morning. And it's a process, and then it's always different for everyone too. Like some people are much more prone to having, nervous system fight or flight. And then some are, they need some fire under their ass to do something to, that is in alignment, because they're confused and they don't know which way to go, and they kind of love all the ideas, but they're just, so they use it as procrastination, and then they say it doesn't work. And so it's just finessing and around that particular personality type. What sort of rituals needs to be put in place to remind you, like, this is first of all, you're going to deposit your truth in your inner knowing, not in the self-doubt for the day. Like, that's my recent practice that I've been working on, stepping into this new role of not just an herbalist, but I'm also creating this mentorship program. It's literally, I look at it as a bank. I have plenty of trust, but it's just, where am I depositing my trust? Is it in the self-doubt or in the inner knowing? And in the Kabbalah, he talks about the belief. The word belief leaves room for disbelief and something not being true. But inner knowing is the understanding, that is the wisdom, that is the step above the belief. And so the self-doubt, yeah. So the inner gnosis. So that's what, just consciously, whenever those thoughts come up of, this isn't working for me, it might be my path, but it might not pan out, and all those thoughts, retracting, withdrawing from the self-doubt and depositing into the inner knowing it's been my practice, and it's been working very well for the past month or so, stepping into this new role. So, or more expanded role.
Yes, and we're constantly expanding. We're constantly expanding, and I love this because it's a beautiful conversation. And you said it. There's so many different personality types, and that's why I started this show, because I've interviewed a variety of people. A lot of people have similar stories. Some are completely different, from all different backgrounds and ages, but the same thing is similar. It's the recognition and finding out who we truly are, and taking personal responsibility and a good look at, ourselves, and listening to our inner gnosis. That voice inside. And the more that you tap into that, and you trust it, and you have faith, and you build a relationship with it, that's where you can really step out on these new journeys, where that bravery comes up. And when we get those moments, because we're human at the end of the day, knowing what to do, applying all of these tools that we're learning. And when I was cracked open, I learned so many different things. But I'm fortunate to have that, because mentoring people, what works for me, okay, that doesn't work. Why don't we try this? Why don't we try this?
You have different tools.
Yeah. And I've been in situations where the ones that are my go-tos aren't quite working. So I'll pick another tool out of my box, and that works better in that situation than whatever I was currently using.
Interesting. Yeah. And being willing to let go of that.
Being flexible.
Being flexible and seeing, let me see if it's going to work a little bit different. And that's something that I definitely need to embody more of, because I see myself, because I'm a Leo sun, and I see myself, so as I'm realizing more and more about my astrology chart, I am so like right smack in the middle of Leo. It's so funny because I am so loyal to where I won't change up what I'm doing, because it's like, I promised this and I will never, to the point where I'll burn myself out, because I'm like, no, it has to be done this way. I have to keep my promise. Or, and really it's rooted in the pride. So the Leo pride again, but then, the organization and the structure and the action-oriented bravery, like that, I can do that. I was very much in unbalanced masculine at the beginning of my business. So I was already very prone to lists for lists for lists, organization, taking every class I could. My notes are perfect. Everything was like transcribed almost. And it's just that I've learned to, especially with the divine feminine embodiment, to reel in on all of that toxic, because it wasn't getting me anywhere. Reel myself in from that unbalanced masculine energy, which I really am now seeing is that Leo unbalanced archetype. So it's so funny. Like my for example, I'm feeling a little bit burnt out now because I'm doing weekly podcast episodes and weekly blog posts. And I had a dream that somebody that I really respect told me, well, why don't you just do, for your monthly series, because my email list gets us a 4-part series every month. Why don't you just do a podcast episode 1 week on part 1, and then a blog post, on the second, just alternate so they can consume the content in different ways. But I'm like, halfway through March, well, I'll start this in April, because I don't want them to be disappointed. And it's like, just start it now. Like, you're burning yourself out. So when we get to know ourselves, it gets down really tangible examples like that of, okay, I know how I work. I know that I'm so damn loyal that it's good, but it's got me in relationships that I've been cheated on, that I shouldn't have been staying in them, because I'm just so loyal to stick it out, It's gotten me in those types of situations. It makes me burn myself out. So knowing oneself to those very, very basic physical issues that we have is just, it's all contributing to our ascension, to own those more balanced expressions of who we are. So I'm in the process too.
Yeah, I can relate on so many levels. Like, we had that conversation about how I'm looking at stuff on the back end of where I'm at, and it's because I burned myself out. Like, but I have in my head that it has to be done a certain way because of the perfectionism comes in.
Yeah.
And I sit in my divine masculine way too much because I'm a workaholic as well. So stepping away and actually reflecting and going with what's working, and letting go with what's not working, and finding that balance.
Yeah.
Balance is key to this whole process.
Yeah.
And really learning all aspects, because it's everything. I mean, when we start taking that personal responsibility, it is a lot, but the more that we do these simple things like meditate or exercise, eat right, journal, be mindful, taking inventory of where we're at, what's going on in our mind, how we're feeling, all those things. When you start getting in the habit of doing it all the time and in a routine, it does change your life on the aspects of things like this as well. Yeah. I mean, when I started noticing that I was getting like that, that's when I really stepped away. And then I was I was like having a conversation with myself. I'm like, well, what is keeping me from saying that it has to be done this way?
Yeah.
Me. Okay. Yeah. Well, who am I reporting to? Me. Okay.
Yeah.
Change it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty of being your own boss as well. But also this idea that you're bringing up, I like it, because when we, in those moments, when we're not aware, in those moments of being able to tune in with our body where we're feeling unbalanced or disconnected, that is really the time that is so potent to start the realignment process and start listening to that inner voice, because it's really shining the neon light. Here's what's going on. This might be manifesting as like a heaviness on your chest
Mhm.
or wherever it is. And that's the time when we're supposed to not just push it aside, but be self-aware and ask, what is causing this? What is the root belief, anxiety, feeling, thought, action that this stemmed from? And in the moment, asking. That's the hardest thing, to actually stop and remember to ask ourselves these questions throughout the day, instead of just keep on keeping on, carry on. It's, no, we have to check in, or else, because that's our intuition speaking, and that's our intuition flashing that light. This is what's going
Mhm.
on. You need to check in, you need to see what's going on, and pushing it down, that's where inner child wounds are formed. I mean, we don't need to keep perpetuating that. So it's just checking in and being the mother to our own inner child, so to speak, and checking into as to why this is triggering us and coming up. And I it's funny because I wrote this down this morning. I'll read it. So, what triggers you are signs of what need to be integrated. What are the limits to your creation, and what's stopping you? So what triggers you is a sign of what needs to be integrated.
Your greatest teachers.
Yeah, exactly. Our own inner intuitive sensations, really.
That was beautiful what you shared. What I do, I have right in front of me a series of questions I ask myself. It's
Hmm.
tests, triggers.
Yeah.
What was going through my mind? How did I create that? How did I do? Did I pass today's test? Was I living from joy and happiness? Did I face my challenges with confidence and honesty, or did I blame some outside circumstance? Did I
Mm.
celebrate my achievements, or did I beat myself up for not being where I think I should be? How much fun did I have, and how much money did I make when it pertains to business?
Yeah. Those are amazing questions. Yeah, that's and the happiness is found in the moment, instead of being too far in the future or in the past, or even thinking the guilt of, oh, I just didn't deal with that situation the best. I mean, that's what parenting, I know, has taught me so much, is this: I didn't deal with that, their own freak out. I didn't deal with it like an adult. you know?
Yes,
That, and then the guilt of like not actually dealing with my own reaction in the moment, and not coming to asking myself those questions, basically, and not coming to the more elevated perspective on it, that it slowly starts unraveling our own inner child issues as well. It's funny how being a parent will shine the light on the inner child stuff.
absolutely.
So I know you know that, but ugh, it's amazing.
Oh my
It,
God. But
yeah.
I'm so fortunate. Like, I'm so proud of my son. My mom always said, I can't wait till you have someone that's just like you, because I was not a good child. It's rebellious in my teen years.
Uh-huh.
And he's not. He's a really good kid. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super proud of him, and it's because he has seen me work on my own inner child stuff,
Yeah.
and understands why I kind of reacted the way that I did, and you know,
That's the radical responsibility.
it is it
And yeah.
it is taking radical responsibility, and that humility, and being humble, and just like I told him, yeah, I made mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes throughout my life, but and I will make mistakes again,
Yeah.
but success is, success is a lesson. No, failure is a lesson learned. Success is a lesson learned applied. So,
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
so
Wow, that's really good. That hit me on a whole.
learning those lessons
Yeah.
and applying. Again, that's the hardest part, and that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. That's yeah, because in integration, as we said earlier, that's where it really, like you said, the magic happens. It's not just accumulating this knowledge and turning around and teaching it, but it's embodying it on a cellular level through this healing, the different modalities that we have and different tools. And like our children, they're supposed to be not exactly the same, mistakes that we made. They'll make their own, but we're supposed to get better every generation.
Mm-hmm.
And more elevated. It should never, because I remember my father-in-law, he pointed to my husband when he found out I was pregnant and said, "Payback." And I remember thinking that, I'm like, I remember that moment, and I remember thinking, I'm like, why? Why does it have to be this? He's going to be a better kid because of all the things my husband has gone through, and all the spiritual integrations that we are working through. And he's slowly becoming more spiritual. I don't think he can help it with being married to me, but I got my binaural beats and my, all this stuff going on. And he's like, it definitely does hit him. And I remember thinking, I was like, we're not meant to just create the same thing in our parent. We're supposed to be evolving and giving them our own tools and helping them be a better generation for the future generations. And I remember rejecting that thought. And I was young. I was 19 when I had him, my first son. And I remember rejecting the thought when he said that in my husband's face. I'm like, nope, James is going to be his own person. There's no payback,
Yeah, exactly.
involved. There's no karma with this. And it was just one of those, I had to walk myself through that. And I knew nothing about this stuff, but I knew I had to reject that thought when it was said. So it's funny how people will, pass on their own projections,
Well, and that's how manifestation happens, because you start that programming, that thought gets planted and the ball gets rolling, and you don't, what a lot of parents I don't think realize, and I didn't either, is that they are mirrors to us.
Yes. Yeah.
You learn so much information within, I think it's the first 7 years of your life, it's fundamental, and it stays with you throughout your lifetime. So if, I was scared for my son because I was in my addiction when I had him. So there was some damage. That's why I'm really proud of him, because I too was a child who went through seeing a mom with, she did have some addictions and unhealthy behaviors, and exposed to, my stepdad was my abuser and all this other stuff. It's that, if we start to change, it's going to quantum shift their reality as well.
Yeah, it always spills over. Just like as we were saying with our business, the formulations changed after the awakening. Same thing with our kids.
Relationships, it happens on a quantum level.
It spills over to every area. Yeah.
That's why I teach my clients, if you want to radically shift your world, it all starts with you by doing your inner work.
It does.
It is that be still and know that I am God.
Yeah. That phrase is not what is taught in church. That's for sure.
No.
It's very...
a lot of it isn't, now that I have a better understanding of it.
Yeah. It's like
people are just interpreting it wrong.
Yeah. And really, you know, when we go back to the etymology and this is one of the things I'm learning, by the way. I'm learning Greek, Aramaic, and Hebrew, and all these ancient languages. I'm in the process of learning Greek. I'm not trying to do everything at once like I normally do. I'm like one language at a time. It is. But because I want to read the ancient texts for myself, you know, to get the real feeling of the word and not just etymology and relying on somebody else's research of the breakdown of words and conjunctions. I want to read the ancient texts for myself. I want to feel into them. I want to know what they really meant, gnosis, what they really meant. And so that's one of my side projects for my own personal.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's, oh, this is wonderful. I love chatting with you.
I do too. And I know we could go on hours and hours and several different topics we could talk about. But is there anything else that you would like to share with our guest?
Yeah. And if anybody wants to get in on my monthly series, I started last month and they've been going really well. They go to my love letter community, which you just sign up for my email list. And that's my love letter community. I don't like calling it email list. And you just download my intuition guide, which is the link in my bio on Instagram. And then you'll be in the community and you'll get weekly series and monthly series of how to really discover your inner calling and really just all sorts of topics to really support your ascension. So I'm excited. I started that last month, so it's going really well, getting lots of feedback. And I also take requests of what do you want me to dive into this month, and we'll personalize it. So
wonderful. I'll make sure, guys, you can find all the links to that down below.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful having you on here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll send you the link for the intuition guide to put in the description. Because it's so hard to jump Instagram over here, just intuition guide, because you'll get the guide and be in the community. So
perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Make sure that you please like, subscribe, and follow. And if you know anybody that would resonate with Michelle's story, share this out. If you have a story yourself, please, I would love to have you as a guest on the show. So that you can share your unique journey as it pertains to spiritual awakening. With that said, we will see you next week. Thank you so much, and talk to you later, guys.